All right, folks. So now that I have seen the finished product of The Flash, I'm here to talk about it. That means, yeah, I'm jumping into spoilers with this one. So, yeah, let's jump into my review of the new film, The Flash. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Today, we're going to review, in spoiler, The Flash, which comes to theaters June 16th. Now, if you don't know, there was a screener for this film probably about a month ago now. I don't know, it's been a while, but my non-spoiler review of that is available on the channel. And with that, we were told that we were getting the CinemaCon version of The Flash, which means it wasn't finished. There had needed to be some additional changes and work done, and that the ending of the film and credit scenes would not be attached to the film. So now I got my invite express to check out the finished version of it, and I'm going to talk about it, because why would I? What's the point if I'm not going to talk about like what the differences are here? Which, yeah, these are going to have to be spoilers because you're going to have to know obviously what was in the original one to know the differences of what was in the completed version here. So yeah, if you have not checked out The Flash, you don't want spoilers, please check out my non-spoiler review and discussion. It is available now on the channel. So I don't have a perfect list of everything that is different from the test CinemaCon copy of it and the final version, but there was things that really did stick out to me and I absolutely can speak on. And I can start off with the opening scene here. When Barry goes to the hospital to save the kids, there's some added changes to this scene. One, I am very confident that there was not a dog in the original, or should I say the first test copy of it. So they add a dog now falling out of the building, along with the babies that are falling out of the building. So like you got this extra now bit of care that Barry needs to attend to with it. And with that, the dog, needing rescue, this kind of almost comes out of nowhere. Also becomes a part of the credit scenes where we see, like, when the credits are rolling, we see sort of like the dog's vantage point of Barry rescuing everybody. So like, yeah, a little comedic aspect to it and whatnot. But yeah, the dog was definitely an added thing. I also think that when it comes down to the Flash's like electricity, which is gold, as you see, in that moment, I think they added an extra blue streak into things, and it looks really cool, by the way. But I absolutely think they added this extra blue detail to his movements within that. So when he's like moving the microwave around and all the other different stuff, that little extra blue lightning that's behind it, I think they added that. I do not believe that was in the test copy as well. Moving on, there was immediately after that, Bruce, this Bruce being by Ben Affleck, when he is on hot pursuit of these bad guys, when he jumps on the tank. In the test copy, I'm pretty sure that he took one of their guns and started to shoot in the tank. In this one, he actually jumps in the tank and gets to throw in the hand. So I think here you change it by maybe establishing a baseline of what tone of Batman we have. When Batman used guns, that's definitely a thing, where it's like, oh, wait a minute now. So I think they removed that to establish like this Batman is still very much a hand-to-hand combat with the gadgets and so on. So yeah, the first one absolutely had guns pointing into the tank. This one, he jumps into the tank and beats people down, Another thing, and I'm just kind of thinking off of the top here because I definitely was thinking like, okay, I remember this, and so on. Let's talk about like the enhancements of the film. Now, I know a lot of people were saying that they didn't think the CGI was complete, especially when he was going through the Speed Force where all of the cameos were happening. So I will say, I do not think that there was a difference within the CGI. I think it looked exactly the same. I mean, when you got some of these old school cameos from the OG Batmans and Supermans, one, looking at when you look at like particular, like I mean whoever your favorites is, obviously is you're going to key to, but I think when you take a look at like when you take a look at like one of the most intriguing in Nicolas Cage, I vividly remember, like, because this is a whole thing with Nicolas Cage being super bad, but I vividly remember looking at Nicolas Cage and I was like, okay, cool. We were warned that this wasn't a finished product, so I was kind of looking at it like, okay, this definitely looks very CGI-ish. Upon looking at it this time, it very much was still the same look, and I think that these folks were supposed to look like that in the Speed Force. I don't think they were supposed to look overly practical and whatnot, and I think that, like, you know, I think it makes sense. I don't know why anybody would complain about it, but I think that, like, while folks were thinking, like, you know, the CGI isn't done, especially when it comes to the Speed Force, I do not think that was a part of that argument. Granted, Barry running fast and like the animation and stuff with that definitely look more polished, especially in the beginning scene where he first enters the Speed Force, you know. But nonetheless, like the cameos within the Speed Force, I do not think were a part of like the issues with the CGI. But like there was tons of people there, man. Like, you know, Christopher Reeves, Adam West, Helen Slater, I mean Teddy Shears, I mean they had them all in there, and they were definitely CGI. And like I think folks were saying like, well, Nicolas Cage wasn't CGI. Either he was or he wasn't. I think he still was supposed to have that continuity of looking like the other actors who truly were CGI. Adam West, like, right? You know, we don't have to go down that road, but like, you know what I mean? So there's that. I also think that the conversation and the dialogue between Barry and Iris were a little different. I don't know in particular what bits of the dialogue, but I felt like the conversation just moved a lot more easier this time. I felt like, and I love Kiersey Clemons here, so I felt like it was a lot of Kiersey in Iris in the original, and I felt like this felt a little bit more of the chemistry that we know of Iris and Barry. It felt a little bit more like the characters instead of it being like Kiersey interacting with Barry and so on. So or Ezra. But I think that they polished out the dialogue so that it flowed a little bit better here. But other than that, I think let me see. Oh, how could I forget the ending moments here? So the ending moments, and this is where Barry now returns to his universe, and he's late to court. His dad has his big day. Finds out that his dad is going to be acquitted because the footage from Wayne Enterprises cleared it all up, and now his dad is definitely cleared of charges of murdering his mom. So it's a good day in court. Barry's doing well. Barry now has to thank Bruce because Bruce was able to give that updated version to help Barry. Now, we could talk about the ending here because obviously we know Barry just did not return home, and he returned home and everything was good. We do know in a scene that wasn't shown that Barry clearly moved the tomato cans to the top row, which would then have his dad, instead of looking down for tomato paste, but up, which then puts his eye and his face in the view of the camera here, which by him changing things as if he had not learned all this time brings him back to Earth that he thinks this is, but it's not. Just for him to get out, he gets a call from Bruce. The original one absolutely was Ben Affleck's voice. This time you hear a very distinct voice and you start to think, who could it be? Who could it be? And nonetheless, in the original one, and should I say like the test copy, Mercedes pulls up, a foot gets out the car, Barry says, well, who the hell are you? And then it's off. It's over. End of the movie. And this, a person gets out, paparazzi comes around, and we actually see it's Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is played by no other than George Clooney, which was an amazing cameo. And then we get the whole interaction between Barry and Bruce, and Barry's kind of like, well, you're not Bruce, wait a minute, what's happening? And he starts to have his jaw shake a little bit because he's like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then it's the end of the movie. We also get an end credit scene with Jason Momoa as Aquaman, as he is drunk out of his mind, and Barry is trying to explain to him what all happened from him going to the different Earths. So last thing I will say with this is that here's what I realized. While they explain how time and all of the, you know, the different things that he's done, how it kind of works, what I realized is that the theory about how things work is truly based on James Gunn views of what's to go for. We're seeing multiple Supermans and multiple Batmans because those are going to be the interchangeable characters. They're going to be recasted at some point, right? But then we've seen consistency. We've seen one Flash because it was just Ezra. We see one Aquaman, as he mentioned, because it was just Jason Momoa. We also, I mean, you know, Gal Gadot comes in as Wonder Woman. We did not see any other Wonder Womans and whatnot. And then who that? Oh, no Cyborg at all. Like, damn, man, what's his name? Really, you know, burnt that bridge down. No Cyborg at all. But like, so consistent Flash, consistent Aquaman, consistent Wonder Woman. To me, that says me that we do know that the Aquaman movie is coming, which means that Jason Momoa is probably going to stay in the universe, which means Ezra Miller is probably going to stay in the universe, which also means that Gal Gadot may also stay in the universe. But I think the Batman, the Superman, and Cyborg are all part of the Justice League, which will be characters that will be recasted down the line. And I think that's why they, you know, you can say this was a reset, but I also think it was establishing sort of ideology in terms of what James Gunn's vision was going forward with this. So, you know, I'm not mad at it, man. I enjoyed this film. I think it's kind of eerie that the plot of this is very similar to Across the Spider-Verse here. You know, folks going through time trying to save their parents and not realizing the damage they can do by doing so. But hey, it works. You know, both will be successful films of the summer with the same plot, with big names and properties. And I think that, you know, it's a good time to be a comic book lover here. So, but anyway, The Flash. I think that while you may have your thoughts about Ezra Miller, okay, fine, I think the film itself is totally a watch. Now seeing the polished version, I didn't feel like much of a oh my god, because the last few minutes were like cool, and I think the changes they made were cool. But nonetheless, I think either way, either one you watch, I think you're going to be satisfied. So, but yeah, jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about The Flash, folks, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.